Okay, you want to be aware of what they call the reciprocal trust doctrine. If you have spouses and they do SLATs for each other and they have the identical terms, the IRS is basically going to undo them and say, listen, we're wise to your tricks. You basically just given the money to each other and nothing's really changing. So you have to be creative. You have to do things that make these trusts different. Maybe the timing is different. Maybe the amounts are different. The types of assets are different. You create them in different jurisdictions. You have different trustees. You have different beneficiaries. Maybe the powers are different. We draft them so there's different powers. Maybe one has a power of appointment and the other doesn't. Maybe one has a different withdrawal right. One has a different withdrawal right. You want to consider the beneficiary's other assets, and maybe then in one trust you do and one trust you don't. So you have to make the trusts different enough so that they're not reciprocal. So that's something you have to be cognizant of when you're drafting SLATs for both spouses. So possible pitfalls that you can solve them, right? If the grantor has unanticipated needs or wants to take those assets back, right? Because it's an irrevocable trust. And what happens if he overfunded the trust? Like I said, he stuffed it and then didn't leave himself enough money. And it says, oh, I need more money. My lifestyle is too high. The grantor can borrow from the trust, right? You can make it so that the grantor basically can take a loan, and then that's a way for the assets to stay outside and you still give the grantor access and having money, having some liquidity. Another great way is to exercise that swap power. So like I said, maybe you funded it with a business interest and maybe that grantor wants to take the business interest back. You could swap it out with cash that the grantor still has. So you put the cash in the trust and then the grantor can take that business interest and do with it what they want to do, right? Okay, so let's do another example. So this is a great way to show that if you use a SLAT, a way to reduce the tax. So say you have this year you have a gross estate of $21 million. And if you put the full amount in the SLAT, basically close to an exemption, you have $12 million. Now what's left is $9 million and you're under the exemption. So you're not going to pay any tax, right? Compared to if you didn't use a SLAT and you have a death, say after this year, you have a gross estate of $21 million, you do nothing. Now you're going to have a tax based upon the 21 million. You're definitely over the federal exemption. And, there was a proposed legislation by Congress that, like I mentioned earlier, that if your estate is between 10 and $50 million, the highest rate's not 40, but 50. So you want to, be able to take advantage of some of these gifting and use some of these trusts to save your clients on taxes.